you live life with so much confidence because you're no longer looking at your life or as your value through the eyes of fashion, through the eyes of society. When you walk down the road and everyone walks down the road, you value yourself as much as everyone else because you can actually see that you're equal to everyone else. Peace and welcome to episode 4 of my podcast. This particular podcast episode is a continuation of the third episode, so hence this is episode 4. This continuation comes with a twist because the third episode was for everyone. This particular episode was done with the God lovers and faith lovers in mind. So I'm going to be talking about different concepts that involve God, that involve faith and spirituality. So if you're a God lover or faith lover, this is a video for you. And if you're not, you can also learn something from the video. I also wanted to mention that by the time that you're done, you're going to leave this episode motivated. You're going to leave it optimistic. You're going to leave it feeling like you have some control over your life. You're going to leave this episode feeling like you can add value, and you're going to leave this episode feeling a lot more worthy. So make sure you listen to every single thing I talk about in this episode and also write things down if you're not writing, or if you're driving, listen attentively while you're driving, or if you're doing other chores, listen attentively while you're doing it because it's very, very important. And I feel like it's gonna add a lot of value because these are things that I'm working on myself and I can already see the benefit of it, and I'm hoping to God that I stay consistent. So I wish you guys all the very best. So the first principle that we're going to be talking about is to know your inherent worth. People with self-love actually know their inherent worth. And I know on social media, a lot of people are like, well, I know my worth. I know that I'm supposed to be treated this way. I'm supposed to be, you know, I'm supposed to like avoid people who are not good for me. I'm supposed to be this. Supposed to be that. And the problem with that is sometimes people end up being a little narcissistic or egotistical, or if someone doesn't really know their inherent worth, they are very, very sad. Their mental health is basically to the ground and all of that. But to know your inherent worth is not to know yourself, and it's not just to be known by other people or for other people to see you. Your inherent worth is not determined by other people, by your job, your position in your family. It is not determined by your value in general or by your mistakes, right? Your inherent worth is not even determined by yourself. Your inherent worth is determined by God. The whole purpose as to why we were created, at least for us Muslims, and I'm sure since this is like a faith-based episode, other people can relate, is because we want to worship God and we want to please God. That's the whole point. That does not mean we can have nice things, we can have really attractive things. That doesn't mean we can like dress beautifully, dress well, or anything like that. It just means that our value and our reason to live is higher, and we have a higher purpose to live. So that means we're supposed to carry ourselves with a different kind of energy. We're supposed to worship God. We're supposed to do only things that God loves. Meaning, if I know that there is something that God doesn't like, I'm going to avoid it. And if there's something that God loves, I'm going to do it. And the reason and the wisdom, honestly, behind knowing your inherent worth is this. Say, let's use celebrities as examples, right? Say a celebrity who is at the top of their game, everyone loves them, and they're like super successful. And then all of a sudden, people don't like them. When you give people the capability and the license, I guess, or the ability to value you, you're gonna be in big problem, or to determine your worth. Because the same way they can raise you up is the same way they can bring you down. Meaning, if I give my value to the media, when the media says good things about me, maybe about how much money I'm worth and all of that, like a lot of celebrities do, they're happy, meaning they're great, they feel happy. But immediately then the same media start to say bad things about them and put them on gossip channels and saying all sort of things that may even be false. The entire value goes down because they've put all of their value in media. Even this can be talked about for like people personally, like, right, if you put your value in your work, in your family, and your family is in good terms with you, by the time you're not in good terms with you, it ends up being um your value ends up a little shaky because now you're not as valuable in the eyes of other people as you were. And the problem also with valuing yourself and you believing your inherent worth comes from yourself is the days that you're feeling great, you're going to feel on top of the world, feeling like you're the best thing that ever existed. But the issue with that is the days that you don't feel too good, you're not really gonna value yourself. Meaning the same way you can take yourself up, and the extreme is for you to be egotistical, to be narcissistic, and it's the same way you can bring yourself down, where you're going to have low self esteem, extremely poor mental health, and even worse, sometimes people end up even killing themselves. So, all of these things are important to mention because your inherent worth is not determined by yourself or by other people. So, when you know that, you start to think, well, if my inherent worth is not determined by me, it's not determined by my family, it's not determined by my work or things that I hold dear, or even by my children, then what is it determined by? Well, if it's determined by God and I'm supposed to worship and please Him, how am I supposed to approach that? The way you're going to approach this is for you to just know what is something or what are things I'm supposed to do that will be pleasing to God. How am I going to have a contented life? How am I going to live a life that is very comfortable? That doesn't mean that you cannot be a faithful person and not be able to achieve your dreams. That does not mean you cannot have nice things. That does not mean you cannot be wealthy. You can live large. It's okay for you to have love for things. The problem is when you have a great attachment to things. That's the problem, right? I might love a new car, I might love a new house, but I'm not attached to it in such a way that if that house were to all of a sudden not exist, I feel like I don't exist. So that's where there's a problem. And it's very important for you to know that fundamentally you are supposed to worship God to try to please Him, and for you to be able to understand that since your inherent worth is determined by God Himself, you have to do your best possible to make Him happy with you and to make Him love you, because this will free you from useless validations from people. That's the real I don't care whatever you think about me. That's really what it is. That does not mean you're supposed to be like rude or bad mouth or anything like that. It just means that inherently, except if what you're adding value is good for me and is going to be value in terms of pleasing God, everything you're saying doesn't really make any sense. So that is what I'm trying to, and even to yourself, you have to discipline yourself. You have to discipline negative thoughts. You have to discipline extreme thoughts of your of value and of your self love, and you have to be able to carry yourself in a way that is proper. So I also wanted to like mention basically freeing you from useless validations. It gives you a higher purpose to live because now you consider yourself useful, you consider yourself one who is supposed to add value, and you live life with so much confidence because you're no longer looking at your life or as your value through the eyes of fashion, through the eyes of society. You, when you walk down the road and everyone walks down the road, you value yourself as much as everyone else because you can actually see that you're equal to everyone else, because the same God who created you is the same God who created them, and you're not beneath them and you're not above them. So that is the real self-love. You move through confidently in yourself, in your abilities, in what you're about, without feeling the need to put anyone down and without feeling the need to put yourself up. You just know what you're about and you live like it. So the second thing I wanted to mention is when you're on your self-love journey, you're going to have a desire for impact. This principle is so important because a lot of people, when you're in your self-love journey, especially for people who have reached a point where they're like living life loving themselves every day, they understand the importance of being impactful and adding value to people's lives. For example, on a small scale could be I make a sandwich, I go to work every single day, I see a homeless man. The sandwich I tend to make is for myself, but now, every single day that I've noticed that there's a homeless man on the way to the bus or on the way to my car to go to work, I can always make it like an extra sandwich and just give it to them. That is the like the bare minimum. And for example, for a Muslim, the bare minimum of what you can do is for you to pick harmful things off the road. We already know this is in a hadith where you part of someone's faith is for them to even the smallest of faith is for you to be able to see something on the road and take it away, because you know it's not going to just be harmful for yourself, it's going to be harmful for other people. So you're not just going to like move past the road without so that you don't get affected by it. You're also going to move on with life, move on in life in such a way that you're caring about other people, that when you've passed through a particular point, you're leaving people that are around that place in a much better condition, or you're leaving that place in a much better condition, so it's easier for other people to live life. So when you talk about strong desire for impact, you know that you have to like help people out, help situations out without anything in return. That's like the real value. It's almost like you want to like donate money, and you're donating money, but you feel like, oh, they should, maybe you're donating to a hospital, but you're like, no, in order for me to donate to a hospital, they have to name the hospital after me. Guess what? There's someone richer than you who's going to donate more money than you and doesn't need anything. It does not need his name attached to the hospital just because he did a good deed. So that's one thing you have to know. No matter how much you feel like you're doing, somebody else has the capability to do more for other people, expecting less from them in return. So that's very important for you to know. Um, you have to be able to like add major value to society that is not necessarily your duty. You're supposed to be involved in like community outreach, like for example, what is going on in Palestine, in Gaza, and people are like traveling out of their different countries to help at different like centers to help people with like meals, to help with meal prep, even if they're not like actively in the war zone helping out, they're finding other ways to help. And people who can do it are donating. And people who can donate are sending prayers and sending support in the best way they know how. That is part of self-love. You're able to see other people's pain and you're able to see yourself adding value in that way. So that's another thing like it's very important. And I have my phone here, that's why I'm looking down. I also wanted to mention that a very simple one a lot of people do, and I've talked about like feeding homeless, like feeding a homeless man a sandwich, is for you to know that like feeding homeless people, giving out donations for things that giving out donations on like maybe like clothes you don't wear anymore, items you have, extra food, on groceries, all those things are good. And this is impactful, right? Having a strong desire for impact would require you to already have existing self-love. And if you want to increase in your self-love, you can always do things like that. So add value to people's life by serving God in the process. So you have the intention of serving God. So you're adding value to people's lives. So people's lives are getting better just because you're around. So that is an example of it. This way, you, even if you start something small, other people who are watching you can learn from you and also do the same thing. And again, for a Muslim, there's something called sadaqah tijariyah. So if you're not Muslim, it just means like continuous charity, meaning it is like a life project you have that even after your death, it is still valuable and impactful. Say you build a well in some poor country and you build multiple wells, and people can always have access to that well or to that tap or that source of water that you built. For every single time that you existing, whether you're dead or you're alive, because for us Muslims, we believe we exist even after our death. We just don't exist in this world. We believe in an afterlife. For every single time that you're existing, honestly, you're winning, because every single person that is going to get to enjoy from whatever you left in your life project, you get rewarded for it, and your station with God keeps increasing. And every single bad that you do, your station keeps decreasing because it is continuous. It's, you can do continuous good and you can do continuous bad is the whole point. So that's the reason why you have to like having the right intentions. You have to have the right attitude towards serving other people. You have to love yourself in the process. Some people have met their significant other and very valuable people in their lives because they showed up to help other people. They've gotten a lot of blessings, unexplained blessings in their life, in the lives of their children, the lives of their generation, because they showed up to help people, because they showed up. And I wanted to mention that a lot of the times when people talk about this, and I know I've given like small examples like feeding the homeless, there are big things that you can do too. If God has blessed you with the intelligence and you know computers, maybe you can build an app or build a software that is going to be valuable to people. And when you do it to be valuable to people, maybe you can get some, maybe even if you do it as a business and you're making money from it, maybe part of that 10% of what you make every year from the yearly profit, maybe you're going to give it to charity. That's an example of what you've been blessed with. Maybe you have the capability and the intelligence to build really good engineering systems for people who come from countries where they have water issues or water problem, and you're going to help build that particular system and help them improve that particular infrastructure in the country. Like things like that you can do if you have the intelligence and you have the capability to add value. This is not something that requires maybe not, maybe not. Push through it and add value. Build institutions, build infrastructures, build systems that can be put in place that can add value to people's lives. That even if you're making some monetary benefit out of it, you still have the intention on the side to add value. I remember listening to a motivational speech about a man who was talking about growing up poor. And I don't remember his name, but he's, I guess, a billionaire or billionaire now in the US. And he was talking about while he was very young, he grew up in a very poor family and his mom was an immigrant. And she used to like try her possible best at the kitchen she used to work for. And she used to like try to give her kids the best education, the best everything. And then one particular time in their life, the like money was tight, like it was financial crisis for them. And she came back home with a bunch of potatoes. And her kids were like, "Oh my God, yes, we have potatoes." And she told them honestly that she stole the potatoes from the restaurant. And the boy's like, "Yeah, it doesn't matter, like we have food to eat." And she said, and the person who is talking now is the son who is successful. And he said his mom slapped him so hard and said, "I've never in my entire life stolen a single thing. And I'm stealing right now just so you guys can have food to eat." And now the son is a millionaire, billionaire, and every single year, I believe he owns like farms, he gives a bunch of potatoes for free just because of that lesson. So I'm saying that people underestimate themselves more than they think. You never know what's going to happen in your future, and hopefully, your future is going to be great. So, when you're having greater things, and even before you have greater things, have the mentality of adding value, have the mentality of giving as best you can. And if you struggle with being like with giving, and you struggle with the fact that I feel like I'm giving less, have the right intentions when you're giving. I'm not giving less, but like you feel like you're going to have less when you give. Have the right intention. When you have the right intention, trusting God, and the blessings will come through. You're not gonna know how it's gonna happen, but trust me, there are many times, even in my life personally, where I think certain things are not gonna happen, and more than that would happen beyond my expectation. I'm just gonna be living through life wondering, like, wait, did this happen? And this happened? Oh my God, this happened too. So that's very important for you to know. Have a strong desire for impact. It's gonna add so much value to yourself, to your life, to the life of the people around you. And you're gonna even have so much confidence and pride in yourself where you're not arrogant, where you're content that yes, I did this. So the third thing I wanted to talk about, the third golden principle is prayer. Prayer is a necessity in your self-love journey. You're going to have points in time where you are struggling, where you're thinking, I've tried my possible to improve. I'm improving in certain behaviors and people are still complaining about that. I wake up every single day trying to push through, and some days are harder than others, and I'm wondering why I'm thinking about this situation. I'm thinking about that situation. I'm wondering why today feels harder than yesterday, even though I felt like I gave my best and all my energy yesterday. It is very important that when you're feeling this way, you do not give up on yourself. You do not give up on hope. You do not give up on prayer. You do not give up on the belief that your life will turn out great. There are a lot of people that have talked about struggling, so couch, like basically sleeping on your friend's couch, and they've made it to something extraordinary today. You have to be able to see yourself in that light. You have to be able to see yourself as someone who would make it through, who would be successful, who would be among those that other people are going to be like, how did you do it? And as much as you can put in a good attitude, hard work, discipline, you can't do any of these things without prayer. There may be a lot of billionaires here who exist and they don't pray, or they don't have any concept of God or value in your life. But guess what? That's the reason why a lot of them don't have the most fulfilling lives. We're talking about self love here. We're not talking about just outside materialism. Or external material. We're talking about like feeling content inside, having a good life overall, having a good marriage, having good children, having good relationship with your children, having a good career, having good friends, having a good circle, um having good mentees, having good mentors, and things like that. So we're talking about life as a whole here. We're not talking about um success in only one direction or only one aspect of someone's life. That is not in any way, shape, or form impressive. Like this is 2024. So I'm saying all of this to say that prayer is a necessity. When you think about the fact that you came into this world alone and you're going to leave this world alone, you have to remember and to realize that if I came to this world alone and I'm leaving alone, there has to be more to this life for me. Meaning, going back to what I first talked about, knowing your inherent worth, you would know that you have the responsibility upon yourself to work hard and to pray for yourself and pray for your generations coming after you, and also even pray for your generations before you. But even before praying for anyone else, you have to pray for yourself, because in 100 years or in 150 years, you're going to be described as a dead great 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 grandparent. You're not going to be described as, yeah, this person. If someone else is willing to describe you as some bones in the cemetery or in a graveyard, you really need to be careful, and you really need to start praying for yourself. And the reason why this is important is for you to know that you cannot have a life where you don't pray for yourself. It shows immense self love when, even though my situation is really bad, I'm praying for more for myself. And I believe in the hope and the imagination and even in the reality that I would go far. It is, I'm poor now. I am looking tattered. I look homeless. I'm not happy. My marriage is in shambles. My children are not the greatest. My career is basically trash, but I have hope that I'm gonna get there, because it happened for other people, hence it can happen for me. So I'm saying all of this to say, I'm gonna mention all of this to people. I'm gonna be reading straight from my phone, and I'm gonna like expatiate. Prayer is a way you get through life easier. And for example, if you're Muslim to this, you're going to pray for your life here while you're alive, and you pray for your life when you're dead. Meaning, you're going to make dua, mean asking God for goodness in this world and goodness in the afterworld, in the afterlife, because we don't believe death is the end for us. We believe afterlife and bliss and enjoyment if we do the right thing and please God. Jannah is what is, that is what is for us. So we don't live um and we don't live in this world thinking that this is all there is. We believe in more for ourselves, and that's just what it is. It also teaches anyone, whether Muslim or not Muslim, that has been abused, misjudged, assaulted, oppressed, treated as unlovable, and also someone who's fighting generation trauma, and even just someone who's simply getting by, who is exhausted and stressed out, that there's something greater for you through prayer. You have to be able to push through prayer. You have to be able to imagine a successful existence in entirety, meaning you're going to be successful in all areas of your life. So even when you cannot find the words to pray, you can cry, you can journal, you can write, you can write, and you, most importantly, you can go to therapy if you need more therapy than maybe an average person. It is very necessary. A lot of people have been through like huge trauma, from getting raped to getting to seeing war and seeing all of this stuff. You can get through it through prayer. You can get through it through your faith in God. You can get through it true God. That's just it. And the last thing I want to mention is the beautiful hope from God that comes as you strive to improve self-love will show you a more beautiful and fulfilling life, even if it's simply an imagination. But hope and prayer takes you from an imagination to a better reality. So the point is, as you're going through your self-love, when things are difficult, please, for the sake of God and for the sake and for the love of yourself, keep praying. You're responsible for your own self. You're responsible for your own value. You're responsible for every single thing that involves you. So try your possible best to live by this principle. The first principle, knowing your inherent worth and connecting it with God, making sure that you know the value of God in your life. If you need to read books, if you want to learn about Islam, you can learn through the Quran. You can reach out to the closest mosque to you. Besides knowing your inherent worth, you also have to have a strong desire for impact, where you absolutely are not in need of anybody's thing or stuff. You just want to do good for the sake of doing good because you have the right intentions. And thirdly, you have to see your life as a life worthy of being praying for. No matter what you have to be able to be resourceful. Resourcefulness is basically using what you currently have to get to a point where you're trying to go to. That is it. Meaning prayer would take you from point A to point B. Anybody who's resourceful knows the value of prayer. So that's what I want to say. So make sure you watch the previous episode, episode 3, where I talk about 4 principles. It's not a faith-based approach, but it's good for anyone who wants to learn. Make sure you watch that video and tell me what you think. If you like this one, please make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like it, and make sure you hit the post notification bell. And if there are other topics you guys want me to talk about, make sure you also say that, because it's very, very important, you guys. So make sure you say all of that. I wish you guys all the very best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for listening.